First and goal. Clock winding down. That's Humphrey. It's touchdown, Montana State. And they get out of here with an FCS victory over Mountain West.
How about those Bobcats?
3, 2, 1, go!
If the excitement of week 0 is any indication on how the 2024 football season is going to go, I think fans are in for a treat. Hello and welcome to This Week in Big Sky Football. I'm your host, Megan Robinson. Montana State kicked off the season last weekend for the Big Sky with a W in Albuquerque, defeating FBS opponent New Mexico 35-31 in a thriller. This week, our game of the week is Missouri State versus Montana. Missouri State heads to Missoula for a matchup with the number 3 team in the nation. And Missouri State, this is their last season in FCS. They'll be moving up to the FBS ranks next year. Now for Montana, they are the reigning Big Sky champions, and they played for a national title last season. I spoke with head coach Bobby Hauck to see how he's feeling about his team entering week 1. Coach, thanks for being here. It is week 1 of college football season. Camp is over. You were picked first in the Big Sky preseason polls. How are you feeling after seeing your team at fall camp and heading into your matchup against Missouri State this week?
Well, that's a hard question a little bit because I'm always apprehensive that we're not ready for the first game. So it's a deal we work on every day, trying to be ready. We're including today, and we'll work right up to kickoff to hopefully go out and perform in the opener. But I do, in fact, like our team. I think they've worked really hard. I think our seniors on our team have pushed the envelope with the guys all summer, and I'm excited to see if we're any good here.
Coach, you had one of the best defenses in all of the FCS last season. This year, 2 new defensive coordinators, Roger Cooper and Tim Hauck, sharing that role. How would you describe their dynamic this year?
We've had new coordinators each of the last 3 years. I think everybody has done a great job with the transition each time. I think Tim and Roger really work well together. They're both great guys. They're both likable guys. They work and play well with others. So that's been smooth. I think our defensive staff is clicking along, working very smoothly. And, you know, we're constantly working on our tackling and our defensive scheme. We evolve it. Each of those guys brings something new into the mix in terms of coordinating. They've both been coordinators before. It's really been a nice blend, and it's been smooth so far.
How have your players adjusted to having 2 men in that role as opposed to one that we've seen in recent years?
Well, the players either adjust or there's new players. So our guys have handled it really well. We got all those guys back, and our guys have done a good job. Both these coaches have been with them going on a couple of years now. Our players have great understanding about what we want on the defensive side of the ball.
Offensively, you're returning one of the top receiving cores in the nation. And Keelan White told me at Media Day that they call themselves the Waffle House because they are open 24/7. What do you think of that nickname for your receivers?
Well, I think talk's cheap. We get to see when we open up. I like it. It's all over their meeting room. They are a confident group. There's a lot of guys in that room that have made a lot of plays. We're excited about them. They're a fun group to be around.
Junior Bergen was on the preseason All Big Sky team, both offense and special teams. How do you plan on using him this season as a kick returner, punt returner, and a wide receiver?
Well, Junior in his time here has done a lot of things. He's thrown passes. He's started at running back. Obviously, the return game is a place where he's really stood out, in particular last year during the playoffs. But the last 2 years during the playoffs, he's scored 4 touchdowns, I think, in the playoffs the last 2 years. So Junior's a really versatile guy. The biggest issue is he's not a big dude, but he's a guy that can do a lot of things and will do a lot of things for our team.
Coach, I know it's only week 1, but last year you played for a national championship. What will it take for the Grizz to get back to Frisco and win the whole thing this season?
I think anytime you win to that magnitude, you've got to get a few breaks here and there. And one of the main things you need to get a break on is staying healthy. We've had years where we had really good football teams where we couldn't quite get to that point of winning a championship or competing for a championship just because we weren't healthy enough at the end of the year. So we need to get some breaks in terms of staying healthy. And then, you got to win some games in the fourth quarter because there's always going to be close games no matter what. We've got 12 regular season games starting with this first one that we need to win. So, at this juncture, our approach is there's 12 potential losses on the schedule and there's 12 potential wins on the schedule, and we get to play one each week, starting with Missouri State.
Come on This Week in Big Sky Football, former Montana wide receiver and All-American Samuel Akim joins the show to tell us what he thinks we can expect from the Grizz this season. Welcome back to This Week in Big Sky Football. I'm Megan Robinson, and our next guest is a familiar face to fans of Montana football. He is an All-American wide receiver, Sammy Akim. Sammy, you went from playing for Montana to now covering Montana. What's the vibe in Missoula like now entering 2024?
As we all know, Montana played in the national championship last year, so expectations are high. But I think the big question mark for Montana is the quarterback position. That's what everybody wants to know, what's going on. Everybody has that question, and, we're going to get an answer this weekend.
Who do you think is going to be the quarterback this weekend for Montana?
If I had to say who I think it's going to be, I would say Ayotte. I think we're going to see multiple quarterbacks this week. Ayotte, Fife, and maybe even Hewitt are all going to get some time to play this week. I would gamble and say that Ayotte's going to be the starter.
Sammy, there are question marks at quarterback. We'll see who gets the start on Saturday afternoon. However, there has been consistency at wide receiver, a position you might know a thing or two about, one of the most prolific receivers in Montana history. Now, of course, last year's receiving core, all back for this year. Junior Bergen, Aaron Fonts, and Keelan White combined for over 2,000 yards and 14 touchdowns last season. What can fans anticipate seeing from that group this year?
Consistency, experience. That's a group of guys who have been in the system for a long time. They understand what the expectation is. They understand the play calls. They understand where they need to be, when they need to be there. They understand how to get themselves ready to play. They're a group of guys who have seen it all, done it all. They had a tremendous amount of success last year. So I would say the biggest thing they can expect from that group is consistency.
Sammy, they call themselves the Waffle House because they say that they're always open. I asked Coach Hauck about that, and he said, well, I think it's funny, but talk is cheap. We'll see how they do. How do you think that they're going to do this season?
First off, that is such a Coach Hauck response to hearing something like that. Talk is cheap. Talk is cheap. And obviously what they did last year is amazing. Obviously what they were able to accomplish is awesome. But in the sport of football, it's all about what have you done for me lately. So what you did last year is awesome. What you were able to accomplish is awesome. It's a great resume builder. But we want to know what you're going to do this year. I think everybody knew what they could be last year, and the fact that they were what they could be last year, they lived up to the hype last year, is amazing. But now you're being touted as the best receiving core in the country. You're being touted as the best group of receivers in the country. That is a high expectation for you guys. So I do. Even though I think it's such a Hauck response, I can't say I disagree with what he's saying. I don't disagree with the sentiment.
Sammy, we'll see how they do this weekend against Missouri State. I really appreciate you being here. Will you come back later in the show and do some game picks with me?
I would love to. That would be awesome.
Ahead on This Week in Big Sky Football, I speak with our player of the week, Montana State running back Adam Jones, to hear about the Bobcats' comeback win in Albuquerque. With me now is our player of the week, Adam Jones of the Montana State Bobcats. Your play of the game, that 93-yard touchdown, the second longest play from scrimmage in Montana State history. What did you see defensively that allowed you to capitalize and take it to the house?
I mean, the play before, when you get backed up, there's a few different things that defenses can do. And I kind of saw that they were kind of coming down fast. The combos were hitting really, really quick on the offensive line. And I remember telling Connor and Cedric, like, if they can get on those guys quick, I can try to spit through. And the next play, I don't know how that worked out, but that's exactly what happened. Connor made an incredible block, and I really didn't get touched. It was really just a testament to what the O-line did, and I just ran as fast as I could, to be honest.
Talking about your offensive line, giving you key blocks to let you get that 93-yard run. You yourself also had a pretty important block earlier in the fourth quarter that sparked a Tommy Mellott touchdown run. What was going through your mind on Tommy's run there?
It's kind of one of those things that you can never really practice a bad snap in a game-like situation. And when that ball got snapped high, for a split second there, I was like, oh, what am I supposed to do? Tommy kind of screamed at me, just go, turn around, and there's kind of a guy in my face, and I just threw my body there and tried to get a piece of the other guy. And just trying to do whatever I could for Tommy on that play.
You and Scott Trey combined for 307 of your rushing yards, 2 touchdowns, the 93-yarder, the game-winning touchdown. I read a nickname you guys gave yourself. What's that nickname you gave your position group?
The Juice Squad. Yeah, we're known as the Juice Squad here at MSU. It's one of those things where we feel like we can bring the juice to the rest of the team, bring the energy. It's something we work on every day, even at practice. When things are feeling flat, we kind of took it into our own hands as our position group to make sure that the offense, we always have good energy, good tempo, try to get guys going.
What do you think it says about you and Scott Trey as players that the upperclassmen are showing you so much respect when you are younger guys on the team?
I couldn't be more thankful to play for this team. Any chance I get to go out there with our O-line and with Tommy, it's something I don't take for granted, and I know Scotty doesn't either. And just to have that respect for the team, it makes us play harder for sure. Me and Scotty talk about all the time. We're playing for this team. No matter who's doing well that day, we know that each of us have the talent it takes to get a win for us. But we want to support the team, and we want to do whatever it takes for all those seniors on this team.
Coming up on This Week in Big Sky Football, Eastern Washington opened their season Thursday night. I'll give you an inside look at the team who keeps the Eagles looking sharp on game day. Football is a game of details. While players and coaches spend hours watching film, going through drills, and scouting teams, Eastern Washington's Assistant Athletic Director for Equipment Services, Spencer Ibarra, is spending 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, packing gear, building helmets, and taking inventory. It's that attention to detail from Ibarra and his small team that help make game days at Eastern Washington possible.
They are I'm sounding here as what we do. I like to think of them as permanent Santa's helpers, except they're all Santa, and the constant working year-round to make sure that we're looking a mess.
A lot of people think it's laundry. They don't really know what's behind the scenes.
We wear lots of different hats as equipment managers: ordering, purchasing, inventory, labeling, distributing.
They do a fantastic job. Just the fact that they give us everything we need in a timely manner and just dealing with as many people as they do.
Yes, we have football, and it does take a lot of time to do it, but all of the other sports that we have take just as much time and matter just as much.
14 sports to be exact. Spencer Ibarra and his team of 7 manage the equipment for all of Eagle Athletics.
It's tough. There's a lot of time management that has to be taken into consideration, especially with a lot of the sports happening in the same season. So we try to be as proactive rather than reactive with a lot of the stuff that we do.
You take for granted how much I see in the facilities. It's a lot more than just full-time job. It's an all-time job.
Since July, since we started receiving all of our boxes for all of our sports, 7 days a week right now. We come in on the weekends to make sure things are organized so we can get stuff turned around as fast as possible.
Organizing equipment is only a portion of the job. You'll often see Ibarra and his student employees working as officials for football practice or snapping balls with position coaches, all in preparation for game day.
We're here about 5 or 6 hours before kickoff to make sure the locker room is all set, make sure the athletes have everything that they need, and then probably about 2 hours afterwards. So it's a full day, probably about an 11-hour day on game days.
For away games, the EQ staff loads the team semi with everything the Eagles would need on their road trip.
We set out the player bags the night before so they can pack whatever they need.
Get a list every single week. You lay it out. Here's the year you should check off. Make sure everything's in your bag before we even drop the bag off to them.
On Friday, I will do a sweep of the locker room, and that's often where I'll find someone who may have left a helmet or shoulder pads or jerseys. I'm just glad I do that last second sweep to make sure they have what they need on game day.
The most important thing to remember, the uniform. And Eastern Washington believes they have some of the best.
Eastern, best in the conference, not even us. We can never wear the same combo. We always switch that face mask, helmet.
We leave it up to the captains and marketing, so they kind of decide what we're going to wear, if we're going to do a blackout game or a whiteout game or a redout game.
All red is super special. First game with the red, all red. And just really the significance of that and what it means to protect the red, as we call it.
My favorite uniform combo is definitely the all black. Really like the matte black helmets. They're definitely my favorite.
Picking a favorite uniform is easy. Balancing the demands of an around-the-clock job is hard.
I have a family with 3 kids and a wife, just trying to make sure I'm spending enough time with them, also while trying to make sure that all of my student athletes, coaches, and admin are taken care of as well.
A lot of the work you guys do is behind the scenes, and you don't get praise for a lot that you do for us and for all the student athletes at Eastern.
I personally take it incredibly seriously how much you hate this program, and I'm going to do everything I can to help this team win. Thank you for everything that you do when doing this together.
Welcome back to This Week in Big Sky Football. I'm Megan Robinson. As of this weekend, all fall sports are back in action. Here's a look at what's going on around the conference. Preseason number 1 Montana is off to a hot start on the pitch. The Grizz are 3-0 at home to begin the year. The reigning Big Sky regular season champs have been dominant at South Campus Stadium, posting a 27-7-8 record dating back to 2019. Head coach Chris Chidovitsky credits the fan support for their success.
Love Missoula. I've always said Missoula has this underground current of soccer fanatics, and it's just hooking them with the right style of play, with the right team, with the right people, and I feel like we've worked really hard at that over the years.
It's opening weekend for volleyball, and there is a full slate of Big Sky matches. Preseason number 1 Weber State will host Utah Tech to start their year. A year head coach Jeremiah Larson believes is up for grabs in the conference.
On any given night, any team can beat anybody right now. And so, I think it's safe to say that anywhere between 1 to 9 teams can win this thing this year.
Expectations are high for NAU cross country as they return to action this weekend. Both the men and women were unanimously chosen as the top team in the Big Sky preseason polls. The women also tied for the top spot in the National Cross Country Coaches Poll. This will be the 8th and final season for head coach Mike Smith, who will be stepping down at the end of the academic year. Smith will move into the professional ranks, coaching for Nike starting in 2025. He already coaches several pro runners, including former NAU star and national champion Nico Young, who competed this summer in the Paris Olympics. That's what's going on this week around the Big Sky. Former Montana wide receiver Samia Kim back with me now. Does not have to be a Big Sky school or Big Sky team, but who were some of the teams you have on upset alert for 2024?
I say South Dakota State and Oklahoma State. I think Oklahoma State could potentially be on upset alert. I think Oklahoma State has a pretty decent roster this year. I think South Dakota State has been an FBS killer as of late. You know, they've been dominating some of those FBS teams. They were very close to beating Iowa in 2022.
Montana knows that South Dakota State is a tough squad. They faced them last year in the national championship, came up short. However, Montana is the reigning Big Sky champ. Sammy, who are you taking to win the Big Sky this year and why?
I really think it's between 2 teams. I really think it's between Montana and Montana State, and I really, really think it's going to come down to the brawl. And as of late, the brawl has been decided by the team who's been the home team since 2019. I think that's been the case. But I think that's gonna get disrupted this year. I'm gonna say Montana.
Montana's journey to a repeat Big Sky championship and the road to Frisco starts this Saturday at home against Missouri State. Sammy, who you got in that matchup?
I got Montana. Missouri State has not been a very strong opponent for anybody the last couple of years. Obviously, they're transitioning to FBS, so they're not even playoff eligible this year. But I think Montana can get them by a touchdown or 2 for sure. First game of the season, home crowd is going to be rocking. I think it'll be an amazing atmosphere.
Well, Sammy, thank you for being here, and I hope that you enjoy the game on Saturday if you are, in fact, going.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Of course, like would not miss it. And thank you all for joining us on the very first episode of This Week in Big Sky Football. Once again, I'm Megan Robinson. We're here all season. I'll see you next week.